Hi everyone, welcome to Prolific Combat Martial Arts. I am Sensei Piers Mboke, a mixed martial art expert with decades of experience, and I'll be taking you on the basics of martial arts in general. Right here, we'll be teaching you the best and safest techniques to apply for different scenarios. Today, we'll be teaching you the basics of boxing. In general, we're going to be teaching you how to fight. We know a lot of people out there who always say, I'm not going to fight. I'm a big boy, I won't fight. But guess what? Nobody predicts fighting. You have to defend yourself. One time, it might happen to you anytime. It can happen to anyone around you. It may be your loved one, it may be your father, it may be your mother, it may be your sister. So nobody predicts it. Even animals fight to defend their territory, to save themselves. Just have it as a standby, okay? All right, today we'll be teaching you the basics of boxing. A lot of people always wanted to learn how to fight boxing, but guess I'm going to be giving you the step-by-step, all you need to know about the basics of boxing. So sit back, get your writing pads, and stay tuned. All right, the first thing we're going to learn today is your stance. Because the way you stand really matters in any kind of fighting, be it karate, boxing, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, different styles, because your stance is very important. Now, for you to get the proper stance, especially in boxing, is this way. You must have your leg in a proper, about your shoulder width, in a straight line. Then take either the front, the left or the right leg backward, depending on the kind of hand you use, whether you are southpaw or orthodox. You can either, I am orthodox, but I use both sides too. So you can either move one leg backwards, a step back, about the same, but make sure the leg is diagonal. The legs are alternating each other, okay? They must have a diagonal line, imaginary line in the center. Then the front leg should be turned inwards. The reason why the leg is turned inwards is for this one serves as an anchor, so you are balanced on the ground. You don't put your leg this way to fight. Your legs are not straight. They're pointing inwards. This one is actually pinned to the ground like an anchor. Same applies to the back leg. It's like the leg is giving you a little bit of K-leg, but it's not K-leg, okay? So this thing gives you a balance on the ground, all right? Now, after you get the stance, always remember that there's a center point, an imaginary line. This imaginary line is actually where you put the opponent into. You program the opponent to be on top of the imaginary line. That's where the opponent is going to be. The opponent is going to be on the imaginary line, all right? So even if the opponent moves, you move with the opponent. That's how it works, all right? So here, after getting your stance, you move. The second thing to consider is your guard. Now, in boxing, the guard is usually down this way, okay? You're guarding your jaw, because this is the most vulnerable part of your face. Your jaw, your face, you cover it up, as well as your hips. Always ensure that your elbows are pointing downwards. Don't put your hands like a chicken. No, because you could destroy your ribs when you are hit. So you cover it up and move down a little. Your head is tucked in. Your head is tucked in. Now, one thing about the guard you need to understand is when the opponent is far ahead of you, you can put your guard in front. Because, for example, you're doing the fighting or kicking sport. You must have two gates. You have the first gate and the second gate. But we'll come to that when we're doing Wing Chun and other classes. But for now, we're doing boxing. Most times, the guards are usually closed. But when you're jabbing, the guard is actually midway, not out and not too close, because you intend to strike. But when you are on the defensive, you go close. This is how it looks, all right? So now, the reason why it's like this, your elbow is down, facing to the ground. Never open it wide, all right? Now, remember something. If you are southpaw, your right leg is usually in front. Then this is out, because this is the power shot. This one is for jabbing if you are a southpaw. Then this is your power punch or power, all right? But if you're orthodox like me, although I use both sides, the left leg is in front. If you're orthodox, you use your left hand to jab, then you use your right hand as your power shot, all right? All right, thank you very much. I hope you've gotten that. Remember, the first things to learn, your stances, curved in, your guards, your head tucked in, then the way you put your hand. Very important. Now, the next thing we're going to go into is the jab, the first striking parts, striking fist. Now, the jab is just like a viper shot. Some boxers out there, like Mayweather, they hit it hard from the pot. But you need to understand something. The jab is a swift shot. You do not telegraph. You don't do like this to do the jab. And anytime you want to do the jab, always remember, the hand is twisting. There's a twisting form. Remember again, one more time, anytime you're doing the jab, it's not this, it's this. All right? And the focus of every punch you are giving has to be your first two knuckles. The first two knuckles is actually what you're using, not the four of them. There's a reason why. Because the bones of the first two knuckles are actually straight, while the ones are slightly curved, because you may make a mistake. I see most fighters out there, when they get into some kind of confrontations, they just throw their hands. At the end of the fight, they have swollen palms. That's a problem. But when you are well precise, you know how to straighten your hands, you make sure you use the first two knuckles, which is very, very important. You strengthen it by doing knuckle press-ups, and you stay there on the ground. But that's for subsequent classes when we meet, okay? So back to the training. As I said, the jab is straight. You just go back to the way it was. You straight jab, but guess what? You do there's a way you're going to propel your body. You don't just do it or fall in. You don't fall into the jab. You straighten up. For example, from the side, this is how it works. From the jab, like you're firing an arrow. You get that? Like you're firing an arrow. You have your guard in there, but guess what? The leg is actually brought out. You're bringing out the leg for you to be able to reach. There's a reason why. I can explain that. So the next class, we're going to explain that, how you use your jab. So the reason for this is for hyperextension. If you just do it this way, you're not going to reach exactly. It might be just millicentimeters away. But when you stretch properly, you get your target. All right? Hope you got that. Get the form of the leg. You're rotating the ankle to make you get it right. That's the guard. Remember, your guards are sit down. Don't do this. I see some people doing this. It's very, very wrong. It's very, very, very wrong. That's why most fighters get hit in the process. You don't do that. So you keep your guard straight, move out, and bring back. And when you're jabbing, don't telegraph. Don't fall in. No, just stretch out. Now, the second technique is the cross. The cross is actually the hand that is coming from behind. The hand that is coming from behind, which is otherwise known as the power punch. The power punch. This is actually the devastating punch. Mind you, the jab is actually used for checking your opponents, sizing them up, trying to make sure they're in a particular spot where you are there to give them the hydrogen bomb, like Tyson, you know? So you must make sure you apply your jab very well, because it's very, very effective. Like people like Muhammad Ali used to be devastating with his jabs. He can give you 100 jabs, and you can even start bleeding everywhere, you know? So the jabs are actually very, very effective. You use the jab to control your fighter, give them low shots, high shots, keep fluctuating the shots before you give the power punch. Now, to do the power punch, which is called the cross, this is how it comes. From the back, what I advise most fighters is this. Some people always go straight to the center, which is very, very wrong. But now, professionally, it is advised to step to the side. It is advisable to step to the side, because most times, most fighters end up getting into shots. But it is advised professionally to step to the side. Most times, those punches end up crossing here. It's advisable to step to the side so that your head has to be moving. In boxing, you have to keep your head moving. Keep your head moving. Never be static. If you're static, you will have problems. You could get stuck. You could get struck in the process. So you have to keep your head moving. For example, this is the jab, and this is the cross. Remember, I put my head away from the center line. Always remove your head from the center line, because most times the opponent might also be releasing their own jab, which may get you caught up and you be caught napping. So always move, step out on a little bit of 45 degrees, then strike it. All right? That's how you use your jab. But remember, always remember that the back leg has to help you. This is it. This is how you use the jab. 1, 2. Now watch the back leg from behind. Let me come from the side. Watch the back leg from behind. This is for the same hyper extension. Very, very important. Hyper extension. Without this, you may not reach your opponent. So now this is how it works. From here, you step in, then hyperextend. It may be going to the head or to the torso or to the solar plexus. From the front, here, hyperextend. Watch my back leg. Very important. Very, very important. Now we're moving to the third strike, which is the hook. The hook, this is about one of the most devastating strikes in boxing. Very, very devastating. So, but it's very, very technical because a lot of people always make that mistake in applying the hook, but this is how it works. Now from the hook, make sure you're doing something like an L shape, like an L shape. And when you're doing this, make sure you cover your jaw. Cover your jaw. Cover your jaw. Cover your jaw. A lot of people have either do this or do this. Okay? If you do this, you may when you have an impact, you might have issues with your joint here. Okay? But this is actually, sometimes I usually make mine slanted, so I'd rather be in between to save my shoulder from having injuries. Okay? So you have to do it in an angular way. This way. Now remember, when you're doing it, remember the twist. This is your pivot. This is your pivot. Again, pivot. Again, pivot. And remember, the shoulder is covering my jaw. Again, pivot. Again, from the side, pivot. And well covered. Again, pivot. Again, pivot. All right. The fourth one, which is the uppercut. A lot of people always make that mistake for the uppercut. Some people do uppercut like this. What are you doing? Are you fetching water or what? You don't fetch water with an uppercut. Uppercut is very, very technical, but guess what? It's actually done usually in the heat of the battle. It's not something you just come out and see somebody and give an uppercut. No, you don't just do it like that. You take your time, you build it up. It usually comes after a slip and uppercut. It's like a sucker punch. You don't expect it. It comes from oblivion. You don't know. It just comes because it's just like a surprise punch. It can come as a surprise. It can come with like a follow-up of multiple punches that you've been given. Like, for example, you're doing this, do this, then up. It's a surprise punch. Okay, so you don't allow your opponent know when you are launching it. It comes like a surprise. So how do you apply? This is it. From here, most times you crouch low. Because applying an uppercut from here doesn't make sense. But there's more power when there's a crouch or a slip. From here, you take it out. Take it out. Remember, my shoulder is lifted up. That's why some boxers seem to look like this. Some boxers, but you may think, but because of the kind of training, that's why some boxers do this. It affects them, but because they need to balance their shoulder so they'll be like normal human beings like us, you know. So, as I was saying, the uppercut comes this way, from here, maybe from a slip, up this way. Now from the side, from a slip, watch the back leg. Very, very important. The back leg must twist. That will give you a propelling punch. Not just, there's no impact, it's like this. But there's an impact when it's like this. There's more power from the ground to your hip, because your hip has work to do when it comes to this. It's very, very important. So you have to keep training your hip. For those who have weight problems, this is where you have work to do. Okay? Now, basically, we have doing a run through. Always remember your guards, your stances. Your legs are not straight when you're standing, slightly bent and tucked so that you can move. Remember, always stand on three quarter of your feet. 3/4 of your feet, like approximately your toes. Somehow like your toes, so you can move. So you can be free. Now, when you're jabbing, for practice, jabbing, comes with the leg. For example, if you're jabbing, jab, bring it back, jab. Remember, if you're jabbing, twist it. Jab, jab, jab. This jab might look simple, but there's a lot of power going on here from your leg. The power comes from the leg to your waist, to your shoulder, to your arms. It's actually from your arms. Do not telegraph. Telegraphing may make people parry your strikes and you could get struck. Okay? Now remember, your guard, your elbow is actually facing down, not here like a chicken. This way, your legs are properly positioned. Your jab straight like an arrow, like Robin Hood, firing like Robin Hood, firing an arrow. That's how it looks. Okay? And remember, you are aimed towards the center, not here. This place is open. Aim towards the center. Very, very key. Very, very key. Now, for the cross, the same thing. Remember the leg on the ground. Your guards are still there. Don't put your guard here. Put your guard here. Because so, even if there's a haymaker coming, you can always move. That's why it is. That's how it's supposed to be. Now remember, your shoulder is always covering your jaw. Very, very important. Always remember again that you side step. Safer for you to side step. That's key. Remember the hook. Remember the uppercut. Right. Thank you very much. I'm sure you've been able to understand some of these techniques. Right now, I'm going to be doing a combination. The combination I'm going to be giving you right now, how to apply the techniques. From the side view, you'll see it. We're going to be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We practice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, application. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's application. When you keep practicing, keep practicing, and you get better. If you have questions, you can always send your messages and I'll reply. Okay? If you enjoy this, follow for more. Subscribe for more quality martial arts on this channel. Bless you. Us.